Hi, this is Kevin O'Neill, and I am here to talk to you about the case study for LOGM 227 supply chain management. What I'm going to do is I'm going to step you through the basics of the case, show you how the spreadsheet that's associated with the case works, and hopefully answer some of the questions that you might have before you ask them. So I'm going to turn off the video and share my screen. And I'm going to drag that off of the screen, and there we have the case study. So to start this case, you see that there's an introduction. There's some introductory remarks about what you should do. It mentions that it's a marginal analysis of several options that will help you solve a problem. I will explain what that means in a few minutes. The background is that you're the director of purchasing and for a company called Endurance Products. And one of your products is this folding exercise bike. I'll make the picture a little bit bigger for you. And you see, it's a very inexpensive, low-end piece of exercise equipment that would work very well in an apartment, a small, very small home, any place where the consumer might want to be able to fold it up and move it in the corner and have it out of the way because there's limited space. Or it might be a perfect product for someone who, because it's inexpensive, someone who cannot afford to join a health club. Now, as you look at this, there's a little bit of background about the sales history. And the idea here is that Endurance has shipped a little over 82,000 bikes in the most recent fiscal year, but there are some quality issues that need to be addressed. They're getting in the way of growing the sales volume. What happens is the parts for the bike are all imported from non-US suppliers. They are just packaged and shipped at Endurance's Indiana operation, the Indiana warehouse, through a kitting operation. The only assembly performed in Indiana is attaching the heart monitor to the handles where you put your hands on these sensors as you're riding the bike so that it can tell you what your heart rate is and so on. Endurance packed those two parts separately and had the consumers join them together, but the process proved challenging for too many users. So giving them to them pre-assembled preempted a lot of warranty claims and eliminated the need to have a tech service team, and the customer satisfaction was good. So that was all great. There's a little bit more about that you can read in the case. But the problem is that we started with some tariffs in China of 25 that increased the cost of the items 25%, and there was no end in sight. So Endurance Products was willing to pay the extra 25% for a while, but after a while, when it looked like this was going to drag on forever, they said we have to go find a different source. So they chose a company in Malaysia called Ketahanan Industries, and they won the business. They won the business because they were $1 cheaper per unit compared to the other choice, the next best choice. The problem was that there were a lot of quality issues with this unit, and there were too many items that had to be returned. And one of the things, and this showed up in the ratings, whether they were selling online, selling at Walmart, selling at Amazon, it didn't matter. They used to get 5 stars about 70% of the time and 4 stars about 15% of the time. And they didn't get any really low ratings. And now all of a sudden they're getting low ratings. And low ratings translate to no additional sales group, because any of you who shop online know that one of the things that you do before you spend money, any significant amount of money on a product, is go check the ratings. So they have to solve this problem, and they have to decide what they do. So what we do is we said you have a few choices. You can stock more replacement parts, and you can add somebody to your customer service team to handle the complaint calls, and you can package the replacements and quickly ship them to customers. and it tells you what that costs. So that's one option. We can just ramp up our ability to respond when customers say that the product is defective, and we can get them a new one real quickly. The second option is to take the business to the company that bid $6.50 instead of $5.50. And what we can do there is we can expect to get the failure rate down. So we'll be able to increase sales, and theoretically increasing the sales will give the company a better profitability. The third option is to make the sensors. The company Endurance can make the sensors itself, and that's going to require a $340,000 capital expenditure for equipment and $10,000 to install it. And you'll eliminate all the inbound shipping costs, and you'll be able to do all of this because it's going to be an automated process with only 4 full-time employees. And so and it talks about how the operation will take up some of the excess warehouse space that you have, and so on. So we're going to ask some questions, and the questions are in part based on the spreadsheet. So now I'm going to show you the spreadsheet, and it looks like this. So the first part of the spreadsheet is the forecast, and it says if we have neutral reviews, then we're going to sell about the same amount every year. And if we have positive reviews, then we're going to increase our sales every year. And if we have negative reviews, our sales are going to fall every year. And when I said in the beginning, I'd tell you what a marginal analysis means. What that means is that if we sell the same amount of revenue every year, the marginal revenue that we get out of that is zero. In other words, the extra revenue that we get for selling the same amount of bikes a year is zero. It's not necessarily bad. It's not necessarily good. It's the status quo. However, the revenue, the extra revenue we get if we increase sales goes up by this amount, and then the change to our gross margin goes up accordingly. And that's a good thing. On the other hand, if we have negative reviews and our sales start to fall, then it's going to have a negative impact on the gross margin. So this is not the total sales. The original 82,400 bikes times the price of the units is not included in this. It's a marginal analysis because we're just looking at what changes if we make a choice. Now, we give you 3 options. I mentioned what those options were. And the first thing you're going to have to do is you're going to have to decide if that option is neutral. Is it, in other words, it's going to give you no improvement. It's going to, your reviews are going to be neutral, or in other words, your reputation's not going to change. Is it going to be positive, or is it going to be negative? So each option is set to neutral to start. But what you want to do is you're going to form an opinion of what you think it's going to do. And if you think this option is going to be negative, you choose the negative here, you drop it down, and you notice that changed everything in the spreadsheet. When I change it back to neutral, you'll see that it changes again. And if I make it positive, you'll see that it changes again. So for each option here, that's the first thing you want to do, is you want to say, is it positive, negative, or neutral? This data thing here is just some background data that's used for calculations, so don't worry about that. I also don't, I want you to download the spreadsheet. I do not want you to change it on Google Drive. So make sure that you download a version of it, and that's just real simple. You go into File and you choose the download option and load this to Excel and do it from there. So that's how the case works. That's what you're going to have to work with. So you'll be able to see for each option, based on how you think it's going to affect the reputation of the company, what are the financials going to look like? Is it going to be a loser, a winner? Is it going to help us over the long run? What's it going to do? So that's going to inform your decision. So when you do this as a baseline case, you haven't done any of the learning throughout the course that might influence that decision. I just want to see what you think. On the other hand, when you do it as a final case, you're going to apply both the financial analysis from the spreadsheet and some other considerations about strategy, about risk, and so on as we go through this. So that's the case in a nutshell. I hope you enjoyed doing it. I think it'll challenge you. I think it'll make you think. And if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. Thanks, everybody. We'll see you online.